drink water and mind my business. Who me? I don't wash people mouth.
Wimmer Water. We minding our business today. Honorable Prime Minister Keith Rowley, Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, in such a difficult and challenging time, join with me in just giving our Honorable Prime Minister a round of applause. Lady Vice Chairman of the PNM and the Minister of Planning and Development, Minister Camille Robinson-Regis, the Honorable Fitzgerald Hines, Deputy Political Leader, in whose constituency we have this meeting today. Other members of the party executive who are here with us, allow me to recognize our long-standing matriarch, Joan Yule-Williams, my cabinet and parliamentary colleagues who are present today, and give me a little leeway to recognize my partner in the struggle, Minister Lisa Morris-Julian. Local government representatives, our PNM family who is here, our constituents of St. Anne's East, and wider Trinidad and Tobago. We are here today to speak the country's business, to speak the truth of our circumstances in Trinidad and Tobago, and to tell you and to report to you what your government has been doing on these important issues. It is apt today that we meet in a school because we are on the cusp of a return to school for many of our children, much more of them than have been at school within the last almost 2 years. And as we approach this serious milestone in Trinidad and Tobago, we approach it with mixed reactions. I'm sure everyone in this room knows somebody who is happy. I'm sure everybody knows somebody who is anxious, someone who is fearful, all surrounding the return of our children to school. I dare say, though, that even in this atmosphere of mixed emotions, the country is ready for this challenge, ready for the challenge. And I'm using that word because that is exactly what it will be. As I spoke to the staff of the ministry yesterday, as we assess our circumstances, assess our areas that we have to monitor and make sure that we are ready for, I said to them, our languaging is important. The positivity with which we approach this assignment is important. And as we say in Trinidad now, it is important that we all understand the assignment. The assignment is the transition back to the classroom for our children. It is a journey, and like anything that involves change, it will not be easy. We have two priorities in Trinidad and Tobago that face us now. The first one, and our main priority, is to keep our citizens safe, and that includes our children. But balanced with that must be providing these same children that we love and that we want to keep safe, providing them with the best chance for educational success and personal development. And I'm adding that because sometimes we overlook the role of personal development and what school has to do with that for our children. School is that area where they learn to live, and we want to keep them alive because we want them to live. We don't want to keep them alive, to keep them like plants in our home. We want them to live. And school is where they learn to live, where they learn to thrive, where they learn to interact, where they learn to develop into the citizens that we want them to be, and therefore, it's more than just, for us, the government, it's more than just keeping them safe. It's keeping them safe and allowing them to thrive. Our education system provides for our country, our leaders, and our skills professionals. If you ask anyone here who is part of the leadership of this country where they were educated, Trinidad and Tobago. And even though some may have gone abroad for tertiary education and so on, the basis of our educational system, the basis of our country's leadership and skill professional, cadre of skill professionals come from our education system. And just to illustrate how important that is, I want to read for you, or just share with you, what we have spent on our tertiary and post-secondary education in this time of the pandemic, 2019 to 2021. Because even as we were making all of the emphasis on safety and spending billions on safety measures, we were also spending billions on carrying our citizens to a point where they can lead this country, or they can be involved in leadership in the different roles and careers that they have chosen. So in those 2 years, 2019 to 2021, we have expended as a government $0.8 billion, more than $800 million on GATE alone. And that's GATE for students who are going to COSTAT, UE, UTT, NESC, MIC, YTEP, RoyTech, USC. That's where the bulk of the money is spent. And how many persons are we speaking about? Over 35,000 persons per year that GATE is expended on. And these are the main areas. So even in the height of the pandemic, when safety is such an important issue, we are spending that to ensure that our citizens can still progress educationally, because we understand how important it is. These are the leaders of our country. These are the future leaders, our skilled professionals, who will work in our industries to ensure that our country progresses. So even while we do one thing, we are doing another. And that's only GATE. I haven't told you about the over $2.5 million that is spent in recurrent expenditure to keep these same institutions alive, to keep them running, to pay their lecturers, to pay their staff, to ensure that they can pay their bills and provide. So when we add it up on post-secondary and tertiary education alone, we are speaking over $3.5 billion in the time of the pandemic, where safety is priority. So that alone says to us the importance of our education system and how we value it in Trinidad and Tobago. And the fact that as one thing is going on, we cannot close our eyes to everything else that has to happen to make our country run in the way that we expect. When we look at our health professionals, and they sit there and they speak to us, and we understand the wealth of their knowledge, a lot of that comes from training that came from Trinidad and Tobago. A lot of that comes from the expenditure in education, so it's a synergistic relationship. Can't leave one without taking advantage and paying attention to the other. And so our primary and secondary school, therefore, come into context as the feeder institutions for our tertiary institutions. If we don't have children excelling at the primary and secondary school level, how then do they get to the tertiary level? How then do we get our country leaders, our skilled professionals that drive our country forward? So that is why it's so critical, after almost 2 years, to now take this step, to accept this challenge and say that our children have to get to school safely, but they have to get back to school. You see, 15 years ago, I was a secondary school student, and I would not have imagined, well, more like 20, and I would not have imagined at that time a situation where I couldn't go to school, where I couldn't have the opportunity to progress in the way I wanted to. So in 15 to 20 years from now, we'll be looking at people who are possibly going to be leaders of our country, people to whom serious responsibility for progress will be given. And that is why it's critical for us to prepare them today. See, we educate for today, but with an eye on tomorrow, an eye to the future. So it's okay today to say, our children may be safest at home, but what happens in 15 years? What happens in 20 years? Where do we get the cadre of our leaders from? Will they be properly prepared for what responsibility they will have to shoulder at that time? Because by that time, 15 to 20 years from now, we who are here now may not be here. And we expect that those we train up will take our place and be able to do so with a level of professionalism so that our country progresses on a trajectory of success. And so that's why this whole question of my child is doing well online. They don't need to go to physical school. That's why that is such an insidious thing. Because though one child may be doing well, for every one child that's doing well online, and I'm saying well only in the academic sense, there's a plethora of other children who are not. And as a government, our responsibility is to all of our children of Trinidad and Tobago, not just some. And we take that responsibility very seriously. I want to share some standardized test results with you. Because, you see, when your child is not doing a standardized test, and when I say a standardized test, I mean the SEA or CXC, whether it's CSEC or CAPE, they will get an end-of-term exam, and any teacher will set an exam that will test what has been taught and will check to see if the child is learning what has been taught. But when you go to a standard exam, when you level that playing field, then you understand the effect that being out of school and not being able to have the best chance at success is having on some of our children. So allow me to just read some statistics for you from CSEC, and that's the Form 5 exam, right? In 2021, 47% of the students that wrote CSEC in Trinidad and Tobago got their full certificate. 5 subjects including math and English. That's your basic preparation for work at a reasonable standard. That's your basic preparation. 47%. In 2020, it was 55%. That 47% has been the lowest in 5 years in Trinidad and Tobago. In the SEA, 2021, 6% more children scored less than 30%. More children scored less than 30%. 9% more children scored less than 50%. More children scored less than the pass mark, 50% in SEA in 2021. 2% more children scored greater than 90%. So did some children do better? Yes, 2% of them. But we had many more children doing worse than they did in 2020. I want us to understand our situation in Trinidad and Tobago, where 61% of our primary schools have greater than 50% of their students scoring less than 50% in SE. 61% of our primary schools have more than 50% of their students scoring less than 50% in SE, passing SE. I want us to understand that 48% of our students are scoring less than 50% in SEA. 50% of our secondary schools are receiving more than 75% of children who did not pass SE. And I want us to take a minute to absorb these statistics. We didn't get so in 2019, you know. No one is saying that that happened only in 2019 and the only problem began in 2019 with the pandemic. But I'm saying to us that what the pandemic did was exacerbate what was already a critical situation. And I'm saying critical because we as a country cannot support our children not achieving. Even in terms of the critical mass of skilled professionals that we need to progress our country, we have to ensure that our citizens are achieving the right kinds of education. And when these are the statistics we have, then after 2 years, we cannot simply sit by and say, my child is doing well online. Our children are not doing as well as they can. And the government has to make a stand, take up a challenge, and get our children the best chance of success that they have. Some parents asked me, because of course my phone number is very open, so some parents asked, can you guarantee that our children will not get sick in school? Can you guarantee that our children will not get sick in school? Who can guarantee that anybody will not get sick in Trinidad and Tobago or in the world? Who can guarantee? As I stand here today, a good childhood friend of mine, 48 years old, died of COVID today. Young man, unvaccinated. Who can guarantee? We can guarantee no one that they will not get sick. Children are getting sick right at home. Parents are out to work. Children are out. They may not be going to school, but children are out, and I'm sure all of us have seen them. They are getting sick right at home. So that is not a guarantee that we are giving. What we are guaranteeing is that as a government, we will do everything we can to minimize the risk for children in school. That is what we are guaranteeing. There's a vaccination program that your children can be a part of once they're over 12. The government has done that. There are entry protocols in place at our schools, sinks for hand washing, temperature gauges, and now freestanding we have delivered to the schools so that you can take the temperature. And these are the entry protocols that are required so that any signs, you pick it up as early as possible. We have said in our schools that there is universal masking. That's a debate in other countries, whether the children should be masked. And in the face of all that's happening, and people getting sick and so on, that's still a debate in other countries. In this country, we have said it is law. Children have to be masked, and that's a big barrier against our children becoming ill. We have instituted the Educational District Health Unit, dedicated doctors and nurses at the Ministry of Education that are our constant liaison or former liaison with the Ministry of Health to ensure that we have clear COVID-19 management procedures for our schools, to go into the schools and run through drills with the principals. That's what they have been doing. Meeting with principals to ensure that they understand what to do when a case arises in a school. This is a pandemic, and there are going to be cases, but it is the management, the handling of it, and the preparation of our children. The best preparation you can give your child, the best defense, is to take advantage of the vaccine. We have given schools guidelines with reduced numbers in the school at any one point in time to ensure that we don't overwhelm the system, to ensure that there's lack of opportunity for congregation. We have said to our schools, there's no whole school assembly that we are accustomed to. A hall like this would usually see every morning children coming into the hall and assembling. That has been cut out of schools. It's not business as usual because we understand the risk and we want to minimize that as much as possible for our children. Increased cleaning schedules, and MTS is a big part of this. Partners in the struggle, because they have to be a part of ensuring that our schools are clean, more frequent cleaning, especially for the high traffic areas in the schools. I want to say that our children have been at school from February 2021. So this makes it almost a year that our children have been at school. Not all of them. The forms 4 to 6 have been at school from February on rotational schedules since 2021. They've written exams physically. Thousands of our students have written exams in 2020, June and July for CSEC, CAPE, and SEA. In January 2021, our students wrote CSEC. In June 2021 and July 2021, they wrote SEA and CSEC. In January 2022, we just had thousands of students writing physical examinations again. So I'm saying this so that we understand we have not been reckless as a government. We have been doing this bit by bit, learning all along the way how to ensure that our children are safest at schools. And we have some success under our belts. And I want at this point to recognize the principals, the teachers, the staff of the Ministry of Education, our cleaners, everyone, health and safety officers, everyone who has been a part of this, because it's not been the minister alone, it's not the government alone. It's all of our people out there as a country doing us proud, working for the benefit of our children. And as our children come back to school on Monday, it will be all of us again, all of us in this together. That's what it is, a country. We are a country saying that we will not sit down and allow our children to not be educated. We are a country saying that we all have a part to play. Even corporate Trinidad and Tobago, reaching into our schools, donating devices, donating cleaning agents, ensuring that their voice is also heard, supporting our children, supporting our future. And that is where we need to concentrate. That is where we need to focus on the future on our children. So as they go back out, I say to all of us, not just the parents, of course, we have a pivotal role. I have a son going back out as well. I have a daughter who's already out because she's in lower 6. And all of us as parents have a role. We have to know what's going on at school. Our children are on rotation, which means that they don't have school every day, but they have school every week, and they should have school every week. And let me speak a little bit about that. Some schools would have wanted to have a longer stretch of children in school, and then so maybe 6, 7 days of children in school, and then another batch comes in. It is important for our children to go to school every week. It's important because this transition back, remember they have been out of school for a long time. They have to get accustomed to the discipline of getting back out to school, and that is critical because these are children who will join the workforce at some point and have to be disciplined to go to work. So we need to get them back out, and we thank our principals for understanding where we have made that stipulation that they have to come to school every week. Our children, our parents have to be accustomed to that again. We have to transition back to the classroom. It will be a challenge. It will not be easy. There will be times where we have to draw on all the strength we have. But if we keep before us that this is the future of our country and what we are doing now will pay dividends in 15, 20, 30 years, if we look at it like that, then the struggles we face now will be small. We will consider them small because we will compare them to the huge benefit that is to come. So as we bring our children back out, I encourage you parents, send your children to school. Those who can be vaccinated, give them the best chance of protection. And let us get our country back on the road to success. All we do now is for our children. All we do now is to prepare our country to keep progressing. So it is a time of hope. It is a time of expectation. As the first lines of A Tale of Two Cities say, it is the best of times, it is the worst of times. But we are up to the challenge. We are resilient, strong people, and we understand that tough times don't last, but tough people do. And we are building tough children. So God bless us. God bless us as we get our children back out to school and we get our country on the road to success. Great is the PNM, and we shall prevail.